in fact, here we are at 6.2, the top of page 5, and we are going to look at that, potentially lining them up in a vertical format. So we mentioned this earlier, the algebra rules are based on the patterns of numbers. If it works with numbers, it works with algebra. If it works with algebra, it works with numbers. That's where the algebra rules come from. We notice patterns with numbers, we're able to apply those patterns when the numbers are missing, which is really what algebra is. There's unknown numbers, x's and y's. So let's look at an example here. If we have 342 times 21, if we're just looking at some regular numbers, and we were to do this using the old-fashioned paper and pencil multiplying, we would take 1 times 2 and get 2. We would take 1 times 4 and get 4. 1 times 3 and get 3. Get kind of that distribution feel. This is what we were taught. Learning how to do several digit multiplication. We'd move over to the 10 spot here and multiply 2 times 2 and get 4. Remember, we bring it straight down underneath where we were multiplying off of. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 3 is 6. And then we were taught to add these lines together. And this first spot was a blank because we moved over to the 10 spot. And anytime you multiply by 10, you're adding a 0 on the end, so that's where that comes from. When you add up, 2 times 0 is 2, 4 times 4 is 8, 3 times 8 is 11, carry the 1 there, 6 plus, not 3 times 8, 3 plus 8, and then 1 plus 6 is 7, so 7,182. And when you look at this a different way, one way to describe it, when I say 342, that's really the shorthand of what we're saying is we've got 3 hundreds plus 4 tens, or 40, plus 2. And we're multiplying by 21. We're multiplying by 2 tens, or 20, plus 1 single. So this is another way to describe this. Let's look at what happens when we apply our multiplication now. We get 1 times 2 is 2, 1 times 40 is 40, and 1 times 300 is 300. 342, very similar to what we got over here. Our second move, distributing the 20, again, multiplying in the tens here, we leave this spot blank, but 20 times 2 is 40. 20 times 40 is 800, sorry, 2 times 4 is 8. And then 20 times 300 is going to be 6,000. And then we were taught to add those up. And 2 plus 0 is 2. 40 and 40 is 80. 300 and 800 is 1,100. And then just plain 6,000. And then if we were to add these all up, you would get, there's the 82, there's the 1182, add another 6,000, there's the 7,182. So they're the same. But the idea here is, just like with numbers, pardon me, as long as you skip that one step over because you're multiplying in the 10 spot now, and so it's like you're adding a 0 to that answer, your like terms will automatically line up, okay? So that's the beauty of doing a vertical format, is that your like terms, will line up automatically. If you take the time to do the setup. So let's look at number 80. X squared minus 7x plus 9, x plus 4. Just like each of these place values was really a number separated by a plus, now we have terms separated by a plus, and we just get to distribute just like we've been doing with the numbers and the way we've been doing it horizontally. This is just the vertical way of doing it. Let's go ahead and just avoid some negatives, and we'll make that plus a negative instead of minus 7x. We haven't changed the value, just changed how it looks. So we're going to multiply the 4 by all 3 pieces. 4 times 9 is 36. 4 times negative 7x is a negative 28x. 4 times x squared is a positive 4x squared. Second row, second distribution. X times 9 is 9x. Notice I leave this spot blank because we've moved over into the quote-unquote 10 spot for this particular setup. X times negative 7x is going to be a negative 7x squared. Look how my x and my x squared pieces are lining up so nicely. And then x times x squared is going to be x, pardon me, is going to be x cubed. And then we add going down. 36 plus nothing is going to be 36. Negative 28x plus 9x is negative 19x. 4x squared minus 7x squared is going to be a negative 3x squared. And then we just have plain old positive x cubed. Now the one difference here is we had some carrying in the numbers, but there's no carrying here when you're talking about vertical format and polynomials, because then you'd be crossing the line, oh pardon me, in terms of, you'd be crossing the line in terms of like terms. And just always make sure to keep the signs with it. Okay, let's try another one. 5z cubed minus 3z squared plus 4z minus 3. Whole thing times 2z minus 4. And just as a little side note, when you're writing mathematics, be very careful to make sure your z's and your 2's don't start to get so sloppy that it's hard to tell the difference. So what I do is I put the little line through to make sure that my z stays a z. I also make sure my y stays a y by keeping it a little fancier. And same thing with x. I gave it just a little bit of wave to it, as opposed to the quick things that can start to look like a time symbol or a 4 or a slanted 1. There's all kinds of options there. One more thought is 7 versus 1. You can easily get sloppy with your 7s and your 1s, and they start to look the same. So I make my 7 with the little hash across it, just like the Z, and then I try to always put a little tail and a hat on my 1. I'm not as consistent as I'd like to be, but I try to be enough that I don't cause my own handwriting issues to get me in trouble. So let's go ahead and distribute again. Watch for those negatives. I'm just going to take a moment here and change them all to plus the negative. Negative 4 times negative 3 is going to be a positive 12. Negative 4 times positive 4z is going to be a negative 16z. Negative 4 times a negative 3z squared is going to be a positive 12z squared. Negative 4 times 5z cubed is going to be a negative, pardon me, 20z cubed. Now let's distribute that 2z. 2z times 3 is going to be 6z. And again, we have just a little space here. 2z times 4z is going to be a positive 8z squared. 2z times 3z squared is going to be a 6z cubed. And then 2z times 5z cubed is going to be a 10z to the 4th. And then we get to combine like terms. I'm going to scoot over here just a little bit because I got a little excited with my demonstration here. 12 plus 0 is 12. Negative 16 plus 6 is going to be a negative 10z. 12 plus 8 is going to be a 20z squared. Negative 20 plus 6 is a negative 14z cubed. And then just a positive 10z to the 4th. So 10 minus 14. Whoops, I've made an error here, sorry, caught it. 2, this is a negative, I didn't write it dark enough, so that becomes a negative 6, this becomes a negative 26. I'm going to rewrite this 10z to the 4th minus 26z cubed plus 20z squared minus, oh, and I did the same thing. 2 times the negative 3 is going to be a negative 6, so that becomes a negative 22z plus 12. I apologize for botching that one, but I dropped the negatives after all my efforts. I didn't write them bold enough. They just look like little flies on the paper. Okay, we'll move on to the try problem.